Hello. A few months ago, I decided to revisit Journey. It's an old PlayStation game, and if you're unfamiliar with the game, it's essentially a whimsical walking simulator.
Stop!
Not like that. Anyway, I wanted to discuss why all these years later, the game's still a masterpiece and delivers such a memorable experience. For this video though, if you really haven't somehow played this game, it's best to experience it blind. No, really, it's like bloody $15 on the PlayStation store. Just do yourself a favour and play it blind. It's super player friendly, so it's real easy to control, and you can swipe your dad's debit card and tell him he can play as well. And it's 2012. The Afghan war was raging, the Philippines were being slammed by typhoons, the world was fucked according to the Mayan calendar, and little old me was a whole 8 years old. This was also the year that Journey would be released on the PS3. This is very late into the PS3's life cycle, as it would only be a year until the PS4 launched. That didn't matter though. The developers of Journey, that game company, had a 3-game contract with Sony. They'd previously developed Flow and Flower, which had both been released to somewhat warm reviews, but they were still experiencing financial issues and really needed a big break. Journey was supposed to take 1 year to complete its development period and be released the following year. However, it actually took over 3 whole years and almost bankruptcy before it could be released. Despite its many developmental issues, Journey released on March 13th, 2012. It quickly became the fastest selling game to date on the PlayStation Store. And this is where we begin the game. Once you start your journey, you're treated to a very confusing cutscene of a bright light streaking across beautiful sand dunes. Then you wake up to this red-hooded character, stranded in the middle of the desert. You climb up the tutorial hill and learn that although we cannot talk, we can actually make happy noises. And some symbols, I don't know, it's the way we communicate here, it's a bit backwards. Once at the top of the hill, the title plays. From here, you can spot the
Big Mountain,
which, due to its overly foreboding presence, it makes this our goal. We can also spot a bunch of little scraps of carpet flying around a symbol, and yeah, she's pretty cool. Apparently, our tiny little legs are actually that fragile they would snap at the thought of jumping, so we use these bad boys to make a scarf to gain the power of flight. There's also these tombstone looking things, which creates a very unsettling atmosphere, which parallels really well with the complete silence from the little red flying hood. In the distance, we can also make out some sort of big Roman architecture looking thing that has collapsed into the sand. Inside, there's a mural you have to activate. Or is it cleaning? Oh man, I don't know, but there's 10 of these things scattered throughout the game, and they're just trying to convey some of the world building and give you an idea of how these people live and what the world's like, because you got no means of communication other than these little pictures of symbols and drawings and stuff that you find along the way. So it's kind of cool in that aspect, but yeah, it is a little bit left to interpretation. For now though, we'll make our way back to another broken structure swallowed by the sands. This is kind of the hub. When you complete the game, you come back here and you can choose individual stages of your journey to play through again. It's kind of cool. This is also where you can become a white robe once you find all the ancient glyphs hidden throughout the game. It's pretty neat having some sort of completion bonus, and it makes it more than worth the replay to try and find all these things. The white robe gives you the power to recharge your scarf without the need for carpet, so it's actually kind of useful as well. The end of every level gets you to activate the tombstone looking things to create a giant well of light in front of a statue of a big fella. You're treated to a cutscene showing how the big mountain is given life to everything and making plants grow, and how the symbols are creating the white people. Look, it's all a bit up in the air, a bit confusing, you know what I mean? The meditation ends and the giant gate opens up. This is a pretty good introduction to the mechanics of the game and serves them well as its tutorial level. The next level's gorgeous. It's amazing how much detail and expression you can get out of such a beige and otherwise bland colour palette. Like, don't get me wrong, I love it, but it's just a mixture of beige, blur and grey, and sand, you know? Somehow, still looks beautiful. This is also where arguably the best part of the game starts. If you had an internet connection back in the day and a PlayStation account, you'd be joined on your journey by a random stranger playing at the exact same time you were. There was no need for any subscriptions, just an account, which probably helped this game in the long run, honestly. But by having this mechanic of having a random stranger play with you, it creates a really cool experience that proves that this game is more than worth the replay again. When I first played this game though, I thought it was sort of part of the game and it was just an AI or something, as I was partnered with a white robe. I quickly realised though, it was a player, because they wouldn't stop spamming the absolute shit out of their symbol button. Building a bridge in this level is actually kind of fun. It's probably one of the more linear levels in terms of its exploration and its goal, but I think the design was intended this way so that you and your new mate don't just wander off in separate directions, and you can work together to complete the level and sort of form a bit of a bond. Our next meditation, we're shown how the white robes started to become a civilization and build the same structures we're traversing through now. The next level feels more like the tutorial, reminding us of our goal of ascending the big mountain and giving us a bit more room to explore this time than the last level. You almost feel like if you ran in any one direction, you'd just keep going forever and ever. The game very much succeeds in letting us explore while secretly influencing everyone's exploration. What I mean is that there are some hidden areas, and I say hidden in quotation marks, around the joint, which feel like you could have walked straight past and never known it was there, but all the while the level has been laid out so you actually don't miss it. It's hard to explain, but it makes sense when you play. The kind of exploration in this level is like an open world game where we're witnessing a random incident that could be taking place anywhere, but we just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
Lord have mercy!
All the while being in this sort of tiny little sandbox level. The next sort of structure in this level seems to be some sort of factory making some machines. There's a very unnerving feeling to it all, and the heavy juxtaposition in audio as well, going from whimsical and mysterious earlier in the level to now a very mechanical and loud atmosphere, along with the sandstorm surrounding the whole place. It really adds to the unnerving feeling of this area. After yet another meditation with the big fella, I'm now beginning to think I may have joined a cult. After this discovery, we hit the classic slide level. Movement is a big aspect of the gameplay, as it's pretty much all we can fucking do, and the sliding level is no different. It puts on an instantly iconic presentation of its art style and absolutely nails it. Once we reach the end, we fall down a pit and we see the big fella once more. Now we are greeted with this new bluish white light, and it looks really cool. It's again a very direct parallel to the orange and bright sand dunes that we were just previously sliding down. This level actually reminds me of an old fishbowl with sand pouring through the cracks above. It's pretty cool and it breaks up the growing monotony of the constant sand.
I don't like sand.
Yeah, nah, that was pretty cheap. Anyway, we get introduced to more carpet creatures this time in the form of jellyfish. The fishbowl aesthetic helps introduce different ideas and gameplay as well, like ascending the long tail bits of carpet, and again, the jellyfish. The carpet seems to have formed its own separate ecosystem down here, as it doesn't have to deal with the harshness of the above ground, and it's thriving on its own. And then the music stops. We once again head down a little tunnel and we hear the metallic clanging again. The eeriness doesn't stop there as we come across a broken machine laying dormant in the ground. Just beyond that is a hallway full of the statues of these machines. This is the first time we actually really get a good look at them, as previously we'd only ever seen them in the vision from the big fella. But there's a statue in the middle of our way, and another machine laying dormant in the sand. One brave carpet decides to fly over and... What the fuck? That's right, these bastards are carpet killers, which really doesn't sound all that scary now saying it out loud. Anyway, this is obviously the game's way of telling you you don't need to go near this very racist, very big bird. He also makes it a point to show you again that he is incredibly insensitive and does not like carpet by slaughtering not just the men,
But the women and the children, too.
right in front of him. And now we've got to do the walk of shame and hide in all of the shadows so we don't get beaten up by a racist bird. Fucking Sesame Street gone wrong. Apparently, while sneaking around, we trod on a stick in all this sand because another bird decides that it isn't fair and he wants to persecute some poor fucking carpet families as well. So now we're playing Murder in the Dark with two racist birds. After doing even more sneaking around that puts the entire Metal Gear franchise to shame, we get to another slide and... fuck. The racist birds are patrolling the entire thing. So, we send it down the slide for the boys. Thankfully, the big white pointy road people seem to have stepped in and stopped the persecution, thus proving this game is definitely in an alternate reality. After bowing down and thanking the big fellas once again for saving our scrawny little asses, we witness the aftermath of Order 66 in our creation, which seems like this game is really trying to tell us in fact we are Jesus. Now, I can't lie, the next level confuses me a little bit, and every time I go back to play this game, I just sort of forget about it. Now, I'm not saying this level's bad or anything, but it's definitely, just saying that it's definitely paced a lot slower compared to the rest of the game, especially what we just did with the slide. It's just sort of pumping the brakes a little, and it takes a little bit to get used to, but in hindsight, I can see that it makes sense. So it's like a big tower in a room, and it reminds me of Kung Fu Panda 2 with the Peacock's Tower. No? Anyone? Just me then. Anyway. As I mentioned earlier, this level sort of feels very separated from the rest of the game to me, as instead of pushing us forwards towards the mountain, we're instead only progressing vertically, which feels really odd, but whatever. It's still good, it just feels odd to me. After activating more murals, which are actually depicting our journey, and us completing the previous levels, which I think is great about this level, we free/summon this big whale carpet, and we get to ride on the back of him, much like how the big fellas would ride the racist birds. Anyway, the next meditation point cutscene is probably my favourite in the whole game, despite largely forgetting this level's existence. We then get to see our journey depicted again in the mural form, but this time we also get to see our little dude watching his own journey. We get to see his reactions and his thinking. Not that he shows much, he's a bit of a fucking blank slate, like he's dumb as a brick. He's a bit of a glue sniffer, he's a bit dumb, but you know, I love him. We also get to see our last segment of the journey, where our little dude is pushing hard against the wind. He looks up at the mountain, and the white robe disappears, leaving us alone once again. Our little guy has his set sight on the mountain, and we prepare for the final leg of our journey. The corridor is snowing and cold, and little man is determined. Does anyone actually know why we're doing the mountain thing? Like, do you leave his VB in the freezer or something? Like, I don't know, does someone want to give me a clue? Does he leave his keys? Did he leave his fucking Ford Falcon up the top? Who knows? The level opens up with us controlling our character, as usual, and the camera focusing on the mountain. The thing we've been trying to reach this entire time, our goal. It's right there. It's so close. All the carpet around this level is frozen. We're the only source of light, of heat, of hope for these little guys. The mountain is tall and harsh. The wind blows hard and we have to take cover. All the while we start to move slower and slower as our little Red Riding Hood begins to freeze. Scattered along the way are broken machines with little carpet clusters hiding inside them. It's kind of sad actually. These guys are like freezing to death and the only thing they can do is hide in the very thing that wants to kill them. Before the last descent, there is a small place for you to take refuge. It's not much, but it is nice that it's there. There's also a frozen carpet bridge here that you get to float across, and the ice breaking is very satisfying. That's it, just thought it was cool. The last leg of the climb is very similar to the two before. Your character is almost completely covered in snow at this point, and the machines are still on patrol. The only way to hide now is to use the broken remnants of the machine as cover. And the music. My god, the music. And then finally, nothing. The storm stops, the music is silent, and all we can hear are our steps as we drag our legs through the snow, slower and slower until we collapse. Then, like an Aussie Christmas miracle, Dad returns from cigarette. Oh, no, sorry, that's... No, he's out for cigarettes still, never mind. Then, like some Aussie Christmas miracle, the 6 white boomers show up and sneak us a couple of little VBs, and we're back on our feet. And bloody oath it works. Our cape returns to us. Reach our final form. The racist birds swirl above, and then with us, trying to stop us, and then... reach the top of the mountain. And fuck me is it tingly. Honestly, the birds were actually whales this whole time, but we're just confined to their metal coffins. The music is pumping, the mountain is right there. Honestly, I could keep droning on about this game for hours. I think it's really better to experience it for yourself though. Back when the game was first released, the ending sparked massive discussion across the internet. Some people were just desperate for answers, others made pretty compelling theories and ideas. That's exactly what the game was designed to do, so that the player can fill whatever story or meaning that they may have created in their heads and insert it into the game. The murals you uncover during the game, while giving you some sort of story and foundation of what the world is like, still are left rather open to interpretation for players, and I think it's great. The audio in this game is nothing short of phenomenal. This game's soundtrack was even nominated for Grammys and won so many other awards. It just grabs you by the heart and doesn't let you go throughout the entire game. I cannot praise the sound design and the soundtrack of this game enough. That game company has gone on to release another game called Sky, but nothing will ever top Journey, because it's not a game, but it's an experience. It's a perfect 2-hour experience that nothing will ever top. cheers for watching. I'm very new to all this, if you can't tell. So if anybody has any pointers or criticism, I'm all ears, and I'm excited to see where this goes. Alrighty, bye.